Hey everyone, Lazy Ben. Welcome to another week of game development. This week is going to be a really exciting week because I'm starting something brand new in the engine. It's all to do with NPC behaviour. So NPC behaviour is just how does the game handle certain states that the NPC can find themselves in? How does it communicate to the NPC what to do? Another example would be if you play an RPG and you steal something off the table, a nearby NPC has to react to that. You know, it might flee, it might fight you for it, it might alert the guards. That's all to do with NPC behaviour. There is a little bit of NPC behaviour already in the game, and that's in the form of patrols. So these NPCs go on patrols, and all patrols do is they tell the NPC where to go at certain times of the day. So if we look at Jenny and we open up the editor, we can load up her patrol. Patrols are just a graph, and they have a root node, and then the game logic gets passed from node to node to node. And currently we just have travel nodes. And all travel nodes are travel to this location in the world. So we put in a trigger ID, which is just a blue square in the world. So the NPC will just travel from blue square to blue square. They could do things like use a fast travel system, catch the monorail, or walk to get to these locations. So there's a second type of node called an activity node. And right now, these don't do much. The idea is you would hook it into the tree like this. You'd break the node off there. You'd maybe place it there. Connect them back up again. And what this means is go to this node and perform an activity. Now the activity could be play some animation, it could be come up and talk to the player, it could be anything. Right now, there's not much to them. They just have an activity ID 1, which is the wait activity, which just means wait at the current location before you move to the next node. So the plan for this new system is to really flesh out what these activity nodes do. My idea is to build another part of the editor which involves another node system like this, which the NPC can evaluate and it will tell the NPC what to do. So if you want to react to something being stolen off the table, like in my previous example, it would be some node tree which would say if item gets stolen, evaluate some logic and either flee or become hostile. So it's a really, it's really exciting. After this system, the NPCs should be able to do a lot and it should hopefully make the game feel alive. That's the plan anyway. As ever, I'll report back, tell you what progress I make, and we'll see where it goes. Okay, so it's the end of the day now. I've got my hoodie on. I'm just about to go home. But first, I thought I'd give you a quick example of what I've been working on today. So I've been building these node trees out, and I've called them brains. So it's test.brain. So it's a brain file. And they consist right now of 3 different types of nodes. There's the root node, which is the entry into the system. And then there's a sequence node, a selector node, and an action node. So the action nodes are what give the NPCs instructions. And you can assign the action here. So if I click on here, it has no action assigned. I can assign it the test action. And all the test action is, if I go quickly to the code, is a structure like this. So this eventually will have some logic in it that will tell the NPC to do something. Right now, it's just got 2 test action types, sausage and bacon, for example. So if I assign it the test action, you can see there I can either pick sausage or bacon. Eventually an action might be like flee, and then, something from this list might be like flee outside or flee to the next room or something like that. The sequence nodes are meant to be little organizational nodes that tell the nodes below it how to fire. So a sequence node will just evaluate from left to right its children. So it will do that action. If the action succeeds, it will go to the selector node and it will begin the logic on that. The selector node will select one to do. So you can have a random selector node or a consecutive selector node. So a random selector node will just fire an action at random. So this might, this can give some kind of randomness to NPC behavior or unpredictability to some NPC behavior. Consecutive will just start from left to right again. And if this one manages to succeed, it will consider it selected and it will finish the action. If this one fails to work for any reason, it might be like flee to the nearest NPC. If there was no NPCs available, it would fail and then it would move and try and do this one. So basically, the selector node just picks something to do and a sequence node will go through the sequence. So, I can add another action node onto this sequence node here and assign it an action. So once this one is finished, it will go to that one and start doing that. So that's basically how I am going to get the NPCs to perform logic. Right now, my kid finishes school, so I'm going to have to head home. It's actually my daughter's birthday today, so we'll be back tomorrow and we'll continue to work on this. It's not quite finished. I need to work on saving some data to disk and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday. I forgot to mention, I think, that it was actually a bank holiday on Monday, and that's a public holiday here in the UK, which means even though it's day 2 of the week from Wednesday now, I've just got into the office, 9:41. The plan for today is just to continue with these graphs. It's nearly there, apart from if you assign actions to these nodes, they don't get saved to disk yet. So the plan is to finish it off, make sure everything gets saved to disk, and then we move on to the next part of the process, which is compiling this visual representation of a graph here down into game data so the game can load it and NPCs can start using these graphs. So we might get onto that later on today, I'm not sure. I don't think it'll take long to finish this bit off, so hopefully. As ever, I'll report back at the end of the day and I'll let you know how it's going. Okay, so it's the end of the day now, and I worked all day on finishing off the behaviour graphs. They're all done, they're all sorted. And I've moved on now to attaching behaviours to NPCs. If we load up NPC Jenny's patrol, it's very simple. It just goes from one location to another. Eventually, I want to be able to add in activity nodes and attach patrols to the activity nodes. The activity will be linked with the behaviour node, with the behaviour tree, sorry. But for now, I've just set up this default behavior. So if you don't have any of the nodes selected, you get to pick a default behavior. We can see that the behavior is going to be on Jenny NPC, and you can set the default behavior and then you can open the brain that's associated with this behavior. I spent the afternoon compiling all this graph data into the game as well now, so the game can load up these brains. The plan for tomorrow is going to be to put in the actual code which ticks these trees, and hopefully we'll have a working result. We'll be able to set up some code to get Jenny to do something, put it in an action, assign the behavior to the patrol, and then when Jenny's on patrol, she should use that behavior tree. But right now it's 3:10. I've got to go and pick my kid up from school, so I'm going to head home, I'm going to chill out, and tomorrow I'll get back to it, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more to look at in the game. Good morning, everybody. Just got into the office. It's Thursday. I'm going to continue to work on these behaviours, trying to get them to work in the game. So we did all the editor stuff beginning of the week. I was laying in bed last night and I was thinking about how it was going. I've decided to change up the design a little bit, I think. So right now, all the behaviours are linked to NPCs. So the NPC behaviour actions are here. We've got NPC behaviour test. So this is the test behaviour that we've been using in the editor. And it's all NPC, NPC, NPC. But really, I want to be able to attach these behaviours to any entity, not just NPCs, not just characters wandering around the game. I might want to attach behaviors to plants, for example. Who knows? They might want to react if the weather is different or something. But the point is I want to be able to attach these behaviors to anything, not just NPCs. So I might rework this design. We're in the NPC file here. I might pull everything out of the NPC file and make some kind of behavior controller. So the way that the engine kind of works, or at least the gameplay part, is that everything has controllers. So we've got animation controllers, attribute controllers, chest controllers, crafting controllers. And the controllers are just meant to be the big systems that interact with each other to get gameplay done. It's where all the logic for the gameplay is controlled. So rather than putting it in the NPC file, I might create a behavior controller and have NPCs just register with the behavior controller. The good thing about separating it is if we ever want plants to have behaviors, we'll just get that plant entity to register with the behavior controller. It's not specifically tied to NPCs anymore. So I think that'll be a good design change. So I think I'm going to work on that today. It's a little bit of a step back because I'll have to take this code out and rework it a little bit so it's not dependent on NPCs. But we'll see how it goes. And as ever, I'll report back and I'll let you know. Okay, so it's the end of the day on Thursday now, and the behavior system is completed, which is awesome. It only took me 3 days, something like that. Finished the editor stuff, and then it's in the game. The NPCs currently can use them. Unfortunately, I don't have an interesting example to show you right now. Literally just finished, and I've got to go home. So the first thing I'll do tomorrow morning is make an interesting example so I can film that. But I'll just show you quickly how it works in the code. So there's the behavior controller, which I talked about this morning. So this has nothing to do with NPCs anymore now. It just has an ID, and this ID could be any entity's ID. So any entity can have a behavior controller. What I do is I give Jenny a behavior controller. So this function is called when Jenny is spawned into the world. And all you do is you do game state, create behavior controller, and then you pass the ID. So this is Jenny's ID, and it'll create one. The behavior controller is pretty small actually. It's got 2 interesting functions. This is the tick, so this is called every frame, and this is the running. So if the behavior controller is running, it means the behavior tree is actually being executed, which means that the game's patrol system, what moves Jenny from place to place to place, knows it doesn't have to tick itself because the behavior controller has taken over execution of Jenny. So if I fire up the code and I open up the test brain here, that tick function will just run this tree every frame now. So it will come down here, it will see it's a sequence, it will do the test action. If that succeeds, it will either do this action or this action. Like I say, right now there's nothing interesting to show, but tomorrow I'll make these real actions. I think the plan is to make Jenny react if you walk into a trigger or something like that. And then again, these are given to Jenny through her patrol. So if I open up Jenny's patrol, we can see here that this behavior test, which is this behavior test here, is linked to this patrol. The last thing I need to do is actually these activity nodes. So I want to be able to assign behavior trees to these activity nodes. Probably do that tomorrow. But for now, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to chill out. I'm going to think up an interesting example, but that'll have to wait. I'm absolutely exhausted now. I usually code until 2:30, but it's now 5:10. So I've been coding since 9:30 this morning non-stop without a lunch break or anything because I really wanted to get it done, and it is done. And I'm really pleased. So yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow. All right, check. Alright, so it's Friday morning now. I'm back in the office. My plan is just to code for the morning because this afternoon I need to start editing this video to get it out to you guys. There's only one more job to do on the behavior system, and that's to be able to add the behaviors to these activity nodes. Hopefully that won't take too long, and then I'm going to spend a little bit of time just creating some kind of demo so I can actually show you the system in action. So yeah, as ever, I'll report back and hopefully there'll be something interesting to see and we'll be able to see this behavior system working. It's the end of the day on Friday now, and I've finally finished this system. It's taken a little bit longer than I thought, but it's done. And I've got a little example to show you. So we've got Jenny NPC on a normal patrol here. The idea is she just walks to this trigger and then she goes and she waits for the monorail so she can get to the next destination. Now, what I've managed to do with these behavior trees is interrupt this patrol now. Jenny will react to something that I do in the world, which I think is really important if you're trying to make a world feel more alive. You know, it's got to react to what the player does. So I'll show you what she does. This is Jenny's normal patrol here, right? It's got a root node and then she travels to this node here, this blue one here, and then she'll do an activity. The activity is this behavior activity, this behavior test activity, and the behavior test is one of these brains. So this is the simple example that I've got set up. You know, you can make these as complicated as you want and have as many nodes, as many sequences, as many selectors or actions as you want. But this is just a simple example for demonstration. A sequence happens. The first action in the sequence is move next to NPC, and the NPC that I have selected is Hero, which is actually me. So Jenny will walk up towards me, and then once she's reached me, she'll do the second one, which is begin dialogue. So I've set up a simple dialogue here so Jenny can talk to me and I can respond. And the most important thing about this graph is that there's a condition that it executes on. If I, the player, am inside this trigger here, then this behavior tree will execute and Jenny will be interrupted. So that's where me doing something in the world will affect what NPCs do. If I go into here, it will affect what Jenny does. It will trigger this behavior tree. But it's also important to know that these conditions could be anything that you want in the game, anything you could think of. You just author these conditions. So the possibilities are really endless on what could trigger these behavior trees. So if I give you a quick example and I launch the game, you can see Jenny on a patrol. And if I go to this trigger to trigger the actual behavior tree, she will deviate, and instead of going to wait at the monorail station, she'll come up and she'll actually talk to me. And she said, "Hey, you've stepped on my German Shepherd," pretending there was like a dog there or something that you've accidentally stepped on. And then you can talk to her. You can say, "So what?" And she'll say, "You fool." And then she'll go back on her normal patrol. So yeah, it's really important to stress that I've been able to write a system there that alters the NPC behavior based on something that I do in the world. And it's a very simple example, but you could make these really complicated. So that's, you know, one of the reasons why it took me a little bit longer this afternoon to finish. But yeah, that's everything really. That's the end of the week. It was a really good week. We managed to build a brand new system Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then most of Friday. The plan for next week is to really do something complicated with this brain system and these behaviors. So I'm going to start on combat, and I'm going to build NPC combat, which obviously is very reactive to what the player does. Much more complicated versions of these trees, and hopefully have some convincing enemy behavior. But that's for next week. If you like what you see, please give it a like and subscribe. I try and get these videos out every week or two if I can. I really enjoy making them, and you know, you'll be able to follow the progress of the game. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.